Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate CLC. We're going to wait just a few minutes to let more people come into the Zoom and for our live audience to come in as well. So if you could just wait for a couple of minutes while we let more people come in, we would greatly appreciate it. And of course, thank you for coming tonight and participating in this event with us. We will go ahead and get started at 4:35. So if you could wait just a couple minutes, and then we will go ahead and start. Again, for those who are just now coming in, we are going to start promptly at 4:35. We are just letting more people come into the Zoom and letting our live audience come in as well. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, I am seeing that it is 4:35, so we will go ahead and get started. Once again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the ATA program today for our CLC Connection for Real Estate. My name is Brittany Smith, and I serve as one of the 8 amazing peer mentors here in the Accelerated Transfer Academy. And we will be diving into our great conversation soon. And I am with our honored guest, excuse me, y'all, whom I will introduce momentarily about their career, education, and transition into the workforce. Before we get started, I wanted to cover some housekeeping items. This is an opportunity for you to engage and ask our guests many questions. To do so, please utilize the chat boxes for questions and commentary, and we will ask those questions out loud and answer them live. Additionally, this event is being recorded and will be made available to you all to rewatch and share with your peers at a later date. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Erika Jones. How are you?
I am great. I'm great.
Yes. So if you could just go ahead and give us a brief introduction about what it is that you do, because you are so much more than a real estate agent.
I am a licensed loan officer for Model Mortgage,
Okay.
and I am a licensed real estate agent for newhomeprograms.com. I have been in the industry since 1999.
Oh, wow.
As a loan officer.
Okay.
In 2007, I entered as a realtor.
That is amazing. So you have been in this industry for a long time.
I have been in this industry for a long time. In addition to my licensed professional positions, I have did some back office, which mortgage closing, and I started as a loan processor. That's how I started.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I then matured into a loan officer position.
Wow. So you've held multiple positions doing lots of different things.
I
So,
wouldn't know what else to do besides real estate.
oh, wow. So funny enough, we're going to get into our icebreaker question. And I was going to ask you what other profession you would do. That was my question. But you were like, I can't see anything else. So we're going to go with this question, which I love to ask people. What is your favorite word?
Amazing.
Okay.
It has grown with me. Whenever anybody asks me about it, everything's amazing. Because I try to keep a positive aspect.
Right.
A lot of individuals don't know that the real estate industry is a stressful industry.
Right.
So you got to find some type of balance. And my balance is being positive first.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you're like, that's how I balance. Being positive is my balance.
It is my balance.
I love that. So for our first question, to get into the meat and potatoes of things, if you could just share your educational background with us, of who you are, and what inspired you to join the real estate industry, and then of course the mortgage loan industry. It's like, how did you get here?
Okay. let's start off with what inspired me to get into the real estate industry. What actually inspired me to get into the real estate industry was my experience and when I purchased my first house.
Okay.
I purchased my first house in, I think it was like 1997, 98-ish, something around that time. And I didn't know at the time that I was being a victim of predatory lending. And these sellers were, they were investors, but they were not good investors.
Right.
So the transaction ended up closing, but it was closing with the anticipation of them having to pay me money to repair my house. And they tried to run off with it. But it almost ended up bad. I mean, I my life got threatened. During the process, but these guys end up going to jail later on down the line.
Right.
But after I did purchase my house, I did get everything that I was supposed to get, and I remodeled my house and everything. So it worked out fine, but it was a very, very bad situation, and it could have went left at any time. So when I got approached with being a loan processor, I just kind of at this time I was in HR and accounting. So I just started doing it on the side at first, and before you know it, I was full-fledged in it because my ambition at that time and my inspiration was to make sure nobody else experienced what I experienced as a home. So that was the passion behind what I do. And the reason I do what I do. Now, as far as my educational background, I did not graduate from college until 2012. Before that, I did some college, and I sat out. I don't know if you remember, you're a little younger, but in 2007, 2008, we had a mortgage crash where everything went left. In the mortgage industry. So at that time, there was like a pivot, like, oh girl, what you gonna do?
Right.
Because me getting into the real estate industry was really new to my immediate family. We didn't have homeowners. When I got into the industry, I helped my mother get a house, my sister get a house. So we that's when everybody started into the homeownership.
Wow.
Not only that, before 2007, in 2003, I opened my own mortgage company.
Wow.
So I became an entrepreneur in the midst of it. So in 2007, when the market crashed and I needed to pivot, I didn't have a mentor, remember?
Right.
I just jumped into the business. So I didn't have anybody to show me how to pivot what was happening. So I just chose to go to school. I went and got my bachelor's degree from Jackson State University. Yay.
Okay.
And my major was social work. So I do have a bachelor's in social work, which even now, my social work degree does still help me in what I do today. I mean, because it helps me with cultural diversity. It helps me with, just knowing different personalities and how to handle myself with different people that I come in contact with to be able to help different consumers. So just being in social work helped me to study how to work with Hispanics, how to work with Asians, how to work with Chinese, so I'm culturally diverse because of the social work background, I think.
Wow. So you have had quite the journey. You've done.
Hey, Brittany, we had a question. Annabella asked if she could repeat herself when she was talking about predatory, or I'm not sure what she meant, predatory.
Oh, predatory lending. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So could you please just kind of give us some insight into what predatory lending lending is?
Yeah, predatory lending is when someone is abusing the guidelines, inflating numbers. In my instance, the investors were inflating the purchase price of the house. And at this time, this house needed repairs that we had negotiated in a contract. And contractually, they were obligated to do what was in that contract.
Right.
So contract law, as you take real estate, you'll definitely be able to know what that means, because it's important to know your contract. And even if you don't get into the real estate industry, and you purchase a home, you make sure you do your research and do your due diligence. Don't just trust what the loan officer say, don't just trust what the real estate agent says. It's always good to, and then if you do get a real estate agent, or you do get a loan, when you do get a loan officer, you make sure that you have one with integrity. Because during my situation, the loan officer had to be aware of what was going on with this transaction. In predatory lending, it's not always going to be one person in a transaction. It's usually a group of people that have gathered together to abuse the consumer. So, you just have to be very wise, and make sure that you definitely pick the right person to help you when purchasing a home, because you can get into some major situations. And once you sign the dotted line, it's hard to turn back that transaction. And you have to spend money that you never anticipated on spending when it comes to predatory lending. So predatory lending is just fraudulent activity with boosting up sometimes the property value. Right now, with the new laws since 2007, 2008, the appraisal can't really be boosted up because it leaves it out of the hands of the loan officer or the mortgage company. So some laws have been in place to protect consumers from predatory lending, but it's still some predatory lending still sliding through here or there. So you just have to be careful.
Oh, wow. So thank you for going into detail about what that means, because I definitely was going to ask. I was like, what does that mean? How does that work? Because usually you see a lending company, you're like, okay, I mean, sure, whatever. So most people don't even think about the fact that you can get scammed. Oh yeah, you can get scammed, something like that.
Yeah. Even now, it's, you can get scammed one, and this is major here with wire fraud. Because you have just say somebody's paying 20% down on a property. You know, a lot of people don't want to go to the bank and get cashier's check or something of that sort. They just want to have it transferred. And I know here recently there was a transaction not in our office, but another office where the I don't know how the computer whizzes get in and go into your email, and they transpose numbers that a title company had sent to them, and they took $200,000. So it's wire fraud is really high right now. It's not in the form of predatory lending, but it's still something we need to be aware of, because it can't happen. But so yeah, it can end up being some major situations with.
Wow, okay. So I want to kind of go back into some of the things that you said you've done as you've moved throughout your educational career, and just kind of touch on more of those things. So you said you had a chance to open up your own company, and just like how you moved into real estate and all those things. So if you could just kind of elaborate on like how you did that and what that process was like for you.
When I first opened my mortgage company, I was fearless at the time.
As we all should be.
Yeah, exactly. But when you get older, that fear kind of becomes more settling. But at that time, I was fearless. I was excited. At this time, predatory lending was on the rise, and the office that I was in, it almost seems as if it was going in that direction. So I was like, I need to come up out of here,
Right.
and I need to do my own thing, and that way I can control my ship. So I did. I pursued my LLC. I got my LLC. I talked to an attorney, and he told me, which way I needed to go with it, because at that time it was me and my husband. And I started buying my equipment as I closed loans. I was still working for that particular company. I did keep it to myself, but I was working toward a goal, and I put money to the side, that what I knew Once I did my business plan, I knew how much I needed to run for 3 to 6 months. And as I was closing my loans, I was putting my money to the side. When I made it to that goal, that financial goal, I think my goal at that time was $40,000. And I took that money and I bought all my computers, and before I even bought my location, I just, planned it out, goaled it out. And I set my date, and once I got my date, I had already kind of eyed out a location, and I got my location, opened it up. I had it was really a family business. It was me and my husband, and I had my sister as my processor. I had my baby sister, she came in as my processor. My best friend, she was a loan officer. I had a credit repair person in the office that we did credit repair as we came in. I had a best friend, she came in as a loan officer. So I ended up, I think at one point I had about 8 loan officers working under me and 3 processors.
Wow. Oh, so you just grew it from the ground up. You were like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna build it piece by piece.
I did.
I love that. That is absolutely amazing. So I actually want to go into that because you said that you had to get your LLC and things like that. So tell me about some of the certifications that you had to get throughout your career that really helped you get to the position that you're in now.
Okay. When I first started into the industry, we didn't have to be licensed as a loan officer.
Okay.
It wasn't a licensure for a loan officer. We just had to pay a state fee. I'm not, well, we did get a loan officer. We registered as a loan officer for the state. I'm gonna just say registered.
Okay.
So during that time, we just had to really pay a fee, get our background checked, and it wasn't any financial requirements to have a loan office, have a brokerage at that time. So I did that. Now, as far as the lenders, I did was like a wholesale. So what I did was my branch, which was Dream Life Mortgage at the time, I would sign up with ABC Mortgage, that was a wholesale lender, that all they did was mortgages. And they would sign us as a partner with them, and I would sell their product. And that's where I closed my loans. So I had my setup was to be able to broker loans. If you came to me, I would be able to give you several different options because different lenders had different options, which is what Model Mortgage does now. I do work for a brokerage now. I don't have my own brokerage. I like it like that because I don't have it open yet.
Right.
I'm still independent. I'm still an entrepreneur. Somebody else just pay the bill and they just pay my money. I like that. I like that too.
So to kind of get into it, because we've been talking about mortgages since the start. So I kind of want you to just kind of give a brief overview of like what a mortgage is, how that works, how brokerage works. Because I remember you saying like it's like a product, and I was just like, oh, I never thought about it like that. I thought it was like a bill or something that you had to pay, which I guess for us it would be the consumer. But if you could just kind of explain what all of that is and kind of how that works for those of us who don't know, especially all the brand new college graduates like myself who are just like, what?
Okay, what a mortgage is when you go out and you find a home and you don't have the cash for that home. You go to the bank and they give you the money to purchase that home. Now, there are 2 different types. You have a wholesale lender and you have a correspondent lender, which is the traditional lender that you have, the Chase, Bank of America. Those entities, what they do is they not only have mortgage products, they deal with mortgages, they deal with cars, they deal with credit cards, they deal with investments. So they have a umbrella of focus that they do as an institution. Well, when the difference between them and what a wholesale lender does, which is where I work, is I work with Model Mortgage, and Model Mortgage, we sign up with right now, anywhere from 15 to 20 lenders that only deal with mortgages.
Okay.
UWM, that's one mortgage company. They don't even have loan officers. They just have processors. So their focus is just making sure that I create opportunities to be able to provide for the consumers. They don't have to worry about auto loans. They don't have to worry about credit cards. So they're able to make opportunities more available to the consumer, more so than the bank, because the bank have other opportunities that they're pursuing. So a wholesale lender and working for Motto Mortgage, you'll be able to provide it with various opportunities, different products, different interest rates. They'll always be better with a wholesale lender because lenders from a wholesale standpoint only focus on mortgages.
Right.
So that's their only, and they keep their mortgage. They don't have to sell them. What banks do is banks use our money, they buy your property, and then they'll sell it to the secondary market. Once they sell it to the secondary market, that frees that money up to go help somebody else.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
so the
that's,
money has to move
the money
around,
has
has to
to-
bank, but with a
exactly.
wholesale lender, it doesn't move
it
around.
doesn't move.
So
That's-
it can be moved as need be.
Right,
So
right.
that's why they can make prices and things like that for mortgages lower, because they have more options, because the money's not going anywhere.
Most definitely. And also with a bank, they have the regular products like FHA loans, VA loans, conventional loans, and they have guidelines that they're mandated to follow to be able to qualify an individual for those loans.
Right.
They have to follow those guidelines because if they want to sell it off, those guidelines, nothing can go outside of that guideline because the secondary market that they're selling to are looking to make sure that those guidelines are met.
Right.
Well, a wholesale lender, we may get you, and you may have 18 months of employment, okay, and not 24 months of employment. If your credit is right and you have a nice down payment, maybe the wholesale lender will let you go ahead and do your loan anyway, because they don't have to sell it right away.
Right.
They can wait and sell it 6 months later that meets your 24 month. Do
Okay.
you see what I'm saying?
So
So they can make decisions outside of the regular FHA conventional guidelines that can be able to qualify. Do we always do that? Not all the time,
right.
but there's opportunity there to get it done,
Okay.
but you won't get that done in a bank.
And I know you just threw out a couple of acronyms like FHA and
Yeah.
So what do those acronyms mean?
Okay.
What is that? Because I have no idea.
Okay, FHA is a
Mhm.
Federal Housing Administration.
Okay.
That's a loan that you can get and you pay 3.5% down.
Okay.
And that particular loan is a more, it's a loan that a lot of people can get, because the debt to income ratio and the guidelines are not so conservative.
Right. Okay.
So that's one loan, but it's 3.5% that is required that you pay down on the FHA loan, which is the Federal Housing Administration. A conventional loan is a more conservative loan where you pay 3% down. Now, if you pay 3% down, that's for a first-time home buyer. You can also get a conventional loan and you will be required to pay 5% down. But that's only if you purchase a home within the last 3 years. You can't get the 3% rule anymore. Of course, on a veteran affairs, which is VA loan, that is 100% loan through the VA.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's just like the different types of loans. through
It's just a
types
different
of
product. That's it.
Okay.
That's what I
see.
mean by the product.
I see now what you mean. When you were like, I was like, the different types of loans.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut to questions from our virtual audience, because we just covered a lot of material really quickly. So if you guys have any questions, or does our in-person audience have questions, please let me know. And Erica, you can go ahead and jump in. Oh, before we start really quickly, we have our other peer mentor, Erica, on the ones and twos in the background doing our Zoom as well. So make sure y'all say hi to her too.
Hello, y'all. We don't have any questions right now.
Okay, thank you so much. And I don't see that we have questions from our in-person audience either, so we're gonna go ahead and move right along. So we have talked about what you've done, how you've done it, how you got there, even some of the certifications that you took to get there. So I want to talk about what a day in the office looks like for you, because you've done so much, and you just said you're still an entrepreneur, you still do all of these things. So what does a normal day in the office look like for you?
Well, a normal day in the office for me is I work at home.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, I work at home. Every now and then, usually on Tuesdays, sometimes on Fridays, I would go into the office. But on my regular day, I get up, right now, I get up for 3 o'clock prayer. I try to make it every morning, but I'm not always successful.
So
But
3 a.m.
3 a.m. I get
Oh,
up for 3 a.m.
wow.
prayer in the morning. If not, I still get up at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is my time. And when I get up at 5 o'clock, I have my time. I have my time before anybody hits the floor. Any movement in the house, that's my movement. So I get up at 5 o'clock every day. Even though I work at home, if I don't go anywhere, I still get up at 5 o'clock. And once I finish my quiet time, I would, freshen up, I'll go to my office and I'll start working, check my emails. I check my planner to see if I have any appointments for that day. And I check my planner at night too, just to make sure, I don't forget anything. But in the morning, I go over my planner, see if I have any calls to make. I may try to make my calls throughout the day, but on the most part, I do it in the morning time. But once I do that, I would do a little marketing. I do have an assistant.
Okay.
So she comes in about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I get with her if she have anything, and we plan whatever marketing we have or whatever questions she have for me. But she does my marketing because I'm not.
Okay. So you have your assistant come to your house and like, oh, she's virtual too, so she works at home too? Wow.
Yep, she's virtual too. So she does my marketing, and she kind of keep me on the ones and twos when it comes to what we need to do as far as reaching a community or ideas she may have or for what we need to do to get to get our name out there. And that's it. I follow up on anything I need to follow up on. And make contact with any real estate agents that I use to try to call and make contact with them. How you doing? If anything you need, so forth, so on. So I try to do that at least once a day, once a week. And then I would do some cold calling. Throughout the week, maybe on Thursday.
Wow. Okay. And then like, what time does your day usually end? Since you work at home, so you got that flexibility to kind of do as you please. So when does your day end? Especially because you're up at least 5 every day.
Honestly, even though I work at home, I'm disciplined to where I work 8 hours.
Okay.
About 3:30, 4 o'clock, sometime later than that, I would, go ahead and close down for the day. If it's something I'm working on, I am active in my church. So I do help with my church. So if I have something to do, I'll cut off about 3, 4-ish. Because usually we have different calls in the evening time. So I'll just get up. But my day is literally from 5 o'clock. I'll just say 6 after my quiet time, from 6 to about 4 o'clock. I'm disciplined.
I love that. So I want to talk about that for a second, because I want to talk about some like the strengths and the skills that you have when pursuing a career in your field. And you talk about being disciplined and how you do things. So are there any other skills that you either already had or acquired that helped you in your field?
Well, I hadn't always been disciplined, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, when I first started, it was fun. You know, so I go to lunch 2, 3 hours, I would, take the office out, let's go eat, or, let's go shopping after closing or something like that.
Mhm.
So, one thing I did when I had my office, I made sure that my atmosphere was homey. I made sure that we were always, close and we did things. But the disciplines I had to learn when I moved from Mississippi to Texas was a definite pivot. Being from Mississippi, everybody know everybody. I didn't have to advertise that I was in real estate. Everybody knew I was in real estate. So I didn't have to do that. But when I came to Texas, Texas is huge. Texas is huge. It is huge.
I'm from here and I still haven't been everywhere in Texas.
Right. So when I came to Texas, this thing called marketing knocked on my door.
Mhm.
And this other thing knocked on my back door and said network. So these are some things that I didn't have to do. I had to learn at a later age. And like I was telling the young lady before we started, that if I could spend the rest of my life, my kids probably say, girl, stop it. I could spend the rest of my life with my kids, my grandkids, my husband, maybe some church members and, my parents, just, I'm a family oriented person.
Right.
I can do that. But I had to learn how to get out and create opportunities. So when I made it to Texas, it did take me a couple of years to realize, girl, you gotta learn this thing. And I tried to along the way, hiring people, but it's not always gonna work that way.
Right.
But I had to learn how to calendar, set off your, block off time on your calendar. I'm still perfecting that, but because I try to remember everything, but the strengths you have to have is number one, you got to be open-minded. And when you set goals, your goals are set as a guide. And sometimes you can go along the way. And as you're driving down the road and you have Siri telling you where to go,
Right.
it could be an accident along the way, which means you may have to detour.
Right.
The same way in life. I just have to readjust my goals. And it may mean give a longer time period or a different strategy to meet that goal. So I had to learn that even though my goals didn't take place at this time, despite what happens or what roadblocks I come up against, I had to train myself to know that it's going to happen regardless, as long as I put forth my effort.
I love that. We had a CLC yesterday where it was me and a couple of other students. We were talking about internships. And that was one of the things we've heard a lot. They were just like, your goals are still your goals, but it might take a little longer to get there, or you might have to pivot, which is a word that we love to use around here, especially as a group of non-traditional and transfer students. All we hear is, okay, well, maybe you need to pivot a little bit. So it's cool to know that like it works the same way once you get into the professional world. Like I'm gonna have to pivot and this might take a little longer.
Yeah, and a lot of times we get in a corner and we stress out because it's not working right. It's not working right. And that's our scapegoat. And that's that thing called fear. But that's where you have to go and sit quiet and say, what other way can I get this done? Not that this may not be what I'm supposed to be doing. That's not always the case. Sit back and find out which way to pivot. But that's another thing that I had to learn when I made it here. I had to be open to networking. networking can open up relationships that could help you know that it's time for you to pivot in another direction. They can be your eyes, you know, in the forest that really lights up and illuminate your path and say, you know what, this is what happened to me. This is what's going on in my life. So networking can allow you to get into relationships that will help you along the way. And they will take you into different other relationships that will help you along that path to meet that goal. So I didn't have mentors before I made it to Texas. Well, I had one. I'm gonna just say I had a spiritual mentor, but she was my mentor for everything.
Right.
You know, so
Just that one person.
just that
you
one
go
person.
to. Right.
And but since I have been in here in Texas, I do have some good people that I will consider have helped me to accomplish some things that I've accomplished here, even since I've been in Texas. So having good people along the way is definitely good. Another strength is always flow with integrity.
Oh, I like that. We're gonna have to put that in the quotes. Flow with integrity.
You gotta flow with integrity in everything you do. I tell everybody, it's one thing I always say, and I've had to make some decisions along the way, even in my own life. All money ain't good money. So
Okay.
you know, so
Say that.
you just gotta know when like what they say, you know, gotta know when to hold them, you gotta know when to fold them, because every deal may not be your deal, or every door may not be your door. Just because it's money, it doesn't mean that's the way to go. So one thing that has not guided me in my profession, in my past, nor in my future is money. If it don't fit, I'm not gonna force it.
Y'all, we're gonna have to make quotes for this one because she is saying so. We're gonna make a list of quotes for the end of this CLC, and we're gonna post them throughout the week because that is important. I don't know how much I've heard that, especially as of lately, getting ready to graduate. It's just having people tell you that. So we talked about some of your strengths and the things that you attain that help you get this far. What were the roadblocks getting here? Because I know that had to be quite a few, especially with the wise words that you have just said to us. So what were those roadblocks and what do they look like? So more so, how did you get through them? Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's say some roadblocks. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Some roadblocks I've encountered along the way. I'm a victim of domestic violence.
Okay.
I was in a very abusive relationship that derailed me for some time. For several years, it derailed. But had I allowed domestic violence to control me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have been able to shift nor pivot because I didn't allow the abuse that I endured to hold me down. Now, do it visit me? Yeah. The effects of domestic violence will always visit you. But I had to learn that there are these things called triggers. I had to learn the triggers that will come to try to make me fear, that would try to make me isolate, that would try to make me have low self-esteem, discouraged, even abandoned. And I have everybody at my access. So I had to learn me, and I had to learn my enemy. And my enemy was everything that domestic violence left for me. So I had to learn those triggers. And when those triggers come, I have to know that, you know what, you're not going to control it. I'm not going to be a statistic for you. I'm not going to let you hold me down. And even though it does come, I just have to fight. You know, the Bible tells us the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force.
Yes, ma'am.
I take it by force. And
Come
that's
on.
why every day is amazing to me. Because every day I wake up and I'm able to overcome, even though despite what I've been through, I can still move forward.
That is so powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that just personal tidbit, because I feel like usually people are like, oh, school was hard, this was hard. But you were like, no, life was hard. What I was going through was hard. And the fact that you still overcame all of that and got to not only do so many things, but be so many things to help other people around you. That is absolutely amazing. And we are so proud of you for leaving that situation and getting the help that you needed. And I want to throw a quick tidbit in there. For those of you who do not know, UHD is doing a sex trafficking and domestic violence panel. They will be, I believe, next week, and we will go ahead and post those dates for y'all as well. And of course, if you happen to be in that situation, there are resources for you. We have resources here on campus, and we can connect you to resources elsewhere if you need them as well.
That's right. That's right. And silence is not always the answer. It is not in domestic violence or sex trafficking. Tell somebody will help. Somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can definitely attest to that as well. As a victim to it as well. That's why I was like, I completely feel you in this moment. So it's nice to hear that somebody else got through it too, because it reminds you that you got to stay strong.
Exactly.
So I appreciate your testimony because it touched me personally. So I love that. Absolutely. So we're going to get into how do you navigate work-life balance and how do you keep your mental health together? Because especially post-COVID, that is really something a lot of people are struggling with right now. So how do you navigate that balance? I know you said earlier that you have quiet time for yourself, but what are other things you do that help you keep your mental health in check, especially doing so much?
I had my first thing I had to learn was no. I had to learn how to say no. Now, being a victim of domestic violence, and you should be able to attest to me, we tend to try to overachieve because we're running a race from what we've been through.
Absolutely.
So I had to learn me and learn that you're gonna wear yourself out trying to outrun something that ain't even here no more.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. They do visit us,
Right.
you know, but you're not gonna control me. And I had to learn that I didn't have to be a people pleaser. Because I used to try to, I guess, camouflage my inner feeling by what I did outwardly. You can attest to that too.
Yes,
That's all a victim of domestic violence. That's all of abuse.
Of any form.
Any form of abuse, you're gonna try to prove. So I stopped that and I was like, you know what? If I don't cook this meal, the worst thing they would do is not eat tonight, so
Come on.
but then these are grown people, they can eat, So I just learned how to say no. Because usually anything anybody asks me, I was like, oh, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll be there. And before you know it, I was spread it all over the place. And this is one thing the Lord told me one day. He said, you just all over the place. And I was like, okay, but I'm helping people. No, you're wearing my temple out. So I had to learn how to say no. I can't do it. I can't fit it in. And I literally had to look at a day in my mind and say, could I do this? And I did. And even work, I love every one of my clients. And there has been a time this phone rung, and I have people that text you. when one of my babies, I was literally on the labor table,
Oh,
closing the lawn,
you was
closing the lawn
as you were having the baby.
as I was in labor.
Man.
That's just how dedicated I was a workaholic.
Oh, wow.
But I had to learn how to be like, you know what? Everything don't have to be saved by me.
Mm. See, we don't have to make quotes for this one because you just keep dropping the gems. Wow.
So I learned how to say no, and I learned how to balance because I have to spend time with my husband. I have to spend time with my daughters. I'm gonna spend time with my grandbabies.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to church. And it is what it is. That's just, I just had to learn that what I want to do, I had to find ways to fit it in.
Absolutely. So I love that. You
So I
said
took control of my life.
you said my schedule is non-negotiable. Y'all gonna have to fit in over here.
Mhm.
And I love that, especially as a new incoming professional. We're always like, oh, I need all these opportunities. So yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can be here. I can be there. And you try to do everything. And it's important to be like, I know my time is my time. So I appreciate you saying that. That is so important. And I want to jump into how has COVID-19 affected your job and your field? Because that was a whole cluster of mental health stuff going on. We were all stuck inside and just lots of other things. So how did you deal with that field wise?
It helped me to, honestly, it helped me when everything slowed down. It helped me to practice how to slow down, and I wouldn't have been able to say what I just said had it not been for COVID.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because when COVID came, did it impact my business? Yeah, it sure did. But one thing, even though it impacted my business, as a business owner, before COVID, I was conditioned and I was disciplined to save. I was disciplined to create wealth for times like that. So when COVID came, I didn't have to worry about closing a loan or when where my next client gonna come from.
Because you were already in the mindset of if something is happening, I'm prepared.
I'm prepared. I budgeted my money because being self-employed and being an entrepreneur, you don't only have to manage your time. You have to manage your finances as well.
Right.
So you manage your finances for the time that the industry is impacted. Like now, the industry is impacted to some people, but at the same time, it gives me time to make my business better. That's what COVID did.
Okay.
It helped me to learn more about marketing, get the right people to help me market. It helped me to learn everything that you put out of here and network again like you used to. You know, so it kind of helped me. That was my help for my pivot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I took a bad situation and made it work for my good.
That is, it's just another quote. Go ahead and add it to the list. Just really taking something and turning it into, this is gonna work for me. I love that. That is absolutely amazing. So really quickly, before we continue, I want to turn it over to our audience and to see if we have any questions or if y'all are as invested as I am, just want to keep going. So Erika, what do we have in the chat?
Well, we currently don't have any questions, but we do have comments saying how powerful like her statements have been and that she's dropping really great nuggets of knowledge. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm having stuff that I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back and just record and write all this down. I needed this. So now I want to get into kind of the things that help you be a better business owner, a better mortgage loan, just everything that you do. What are some organizations that you are either a part of or that helped you get better in your fields, and like some books that you've read too that have helped you, especially because you have a lot of certifications and things like that as well.
Mhm. I always study. I read. I read a lot. I don't watch TV,
Oh,
so
okay.
I read. That's my pastime. Every now and then I watch TV if I'm just sitting down, or my daughters and stuff. My husband's might have said, "Let's watch this movie." I'll do that. And but just going to the TV, that's nothing I do. But I read a lot of self-help books. I I read one of the main things I read is the Bible. I read the Bible. I read books on business. I read books on entrepreneurship. No particular author, except for Miles Monroe. I love his books.
Okay. Any
Um,
particular books about like business or entrepreneurship, or even
he's a
stuff that helped you specifically, that you were like, this book, I recommend this book to anybody, and you read that, you'll know.
I recommend everybody to read Miles Monroe books. All of his books are on entrepreneurship. They're they're Bible based, but they are on business. He has some great books. He has some great books. I love his books. Um, I Yeah, so I read. As far as organizations, I have not been in I have not joined a lot of organizations. I am pursuing to join the chambers here now. Only because I networked and now in a relationship with someone that has given me insight and a reason to join
Right.
the chambers. And from the events that she has invited me to, I think those are some good avenues to join. I'm very conservative when it comes to spending, and joining. But I think that'll be a good investment because it opens up an avenue of network for you to be a network with other businesses, other business owners, and it just opened up a rank of influence for you. Now I did an investment group. It's called NIA, and I'm trying to find out the name of it. It's NIA. Her name is, you can look up on anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, Tony Taylor, TONI. She's the liaison for our region. I did join that particular investment group meeting. It's a networking group. Networking action. That's what it is.
Okay.
Networking action. She has an amazing networking group. I started off, but me pivoting and just trying to find my place after COVID, and putting this away, taking, doing my I just, kind of backed away for a minute, but I definitely in the near future I intend on going back. But being young entrepreneurs, I've seen some amazing things happen in that networking action group. So that is one that I did join, and that is one I would definitely recommend, if you all work. So she's an amazing networker. Never ever seen anybody like. I don't know if I could ever be half of what she does, but she wake up network. So she's created for that. But other than that, I'm just my network is church, because I just that's why I spend my time.
Right. So I love that. So y'all's word of the day, besides just powerful and amazing, is definitely networking. It's something we talk about a lot here. And if you need help with any of those things, you can definitely stop by our office, and our peer mentors can help you do that. Or you can go to the main career center or the College of Businesses Career Center if you are a business major, and they can give you tips, tricks, and even help you come up with your speech. for networking if that's not something that you are good at. So is there anything that students can do right now to help them get a better footing in your field? What can they do right now as college juniors, seniors, graduates that have like just crossed the stage? What can they do right now to give them a better leg up in your field?
To get a better leg, now, number one, you can be licensed at 18.
Oh, okay, so I did not know
You
that.
can be licensed as a real estate agent or a loan officer at the age of 18. I recommend everybody, even I'm actually, I have one daughter now, and I think she's gonna go ahead and get her real estate license. I recommend you to get a real estate license. I mean, because real estate is the greatest investment. I mean, if you do it right.
Right.
That is a good investment for you to have, and starting young. As you're starting, always keep a database of people you know and people you meet.
That is very.
If I can do it all over again, I would make sure that I keep a database of my sphere of influence, and anybody I come in contact with. Because once you get into the business, after you have created that database can be your first, your foundation for the creating your business in the industry. So creating a database is one. And I know it seems simple, but you're only as rich as the next person you meet. And you have to create relationships, because relationships is what helps build wealth. So you have to, that's one thing, your database. Another thing, learn great communication skills. One
Very
thing in
important.
real estate, follow up. If you interview any real estate agent to this day and ask them, what is the major thing that is your concern when dealing with, or when you select a loan officer, and they're going to say their follow-up. I mean, in business, if you don't follow up, that's not good customer service.
Right.
So follow-up is really what will give you make your name ring in the community. So what you can do now is learn those disciplines, learn communication skills, learn follow-up skills, build that database. And you can even network as young millennials. You to me, you are some of the greatest networks. I mean, and the things that you all create now is unbelievable. So, and as a matter of fact, my sister, she's a millennial. So I love her, she's sharp. So I think every older person needs to have a millennial on the team.
So funny, I think I'm Gen Z. I think I'm right at that cutoff because I'm 1997.
Okay.
So yeah, I was born the year you bought your first house.
I know, girl.
So I was popping into the world as you was signing those leases. So I love that. That is so cool. And just, I guess my last question for you, because it looks like we've got some time. So just kind of, what helped you move through your career? Like, how did you figure out, like, okay, I've done this is where I'm going to move next? And I know a lot of it for you was like personal experience, but like professionally, how did you figure out that pivot process? Because I know, especially when you're in one field and you're moving to another and then becoming an entrepreneur, like there's like professional things that have to be done first. So like, how did you navigate that?
Well, I didn't do anything professional. I just said, I went up as I went. I had a desire, and I saw. Once I got introduced to the business, it was a passion, and that passion turned into a vision. And as that passion turned into a vision, I ran for it.
Right.
I ran for it to the point to where I was blindfolded and didn't know what to do. But I had Google. And how do you start a business? And then I would talk to people and they would, give me insight. So I guess, just relationship, networking. Yeah, networking is really what got me doing what I did. I went into the Secretary of State and I think when I went down there, I didn't know what to do. And I saw somebody I knew that was working in there, and I was like, "Can you tell me how to do it?" And she was
Right.
like, "Oh yeah." She became my go-to person for when I had to go to the Secretary of State when I started my own business. So went down to the bank commission, asked questions. I mean, I asked questions. I kicked down my own doors. I kicked down
Okay.
every door that came my way. I had a vision. I had a plan. I implemented the plan. And one thing the Bible tells you that the plans he had for you are good and not evil. And he said, write the vision, make it plain, put it before you, and he'll bring it to pass. You just got to do your part.
Right.
So as long as I was doing my part, I feel like he just opened the doors for me. I mean, I had the vision, I had my business plan. I went on the internet and got a template of a business plan. I created my own business plan. I did my business plan. And as I did my business plan, I checked off what I needed to do. And when the infrastructure was done and I didn't have that, I can go into my business debt free. I just went into my business debt free. Was I scared? I don't even remember. I just did it.
Oh wow.
I just
incomplete feelings. We just moved it.
I just did it. So I guess it was determination. I did have support. My even though my parents were never entrepreneurs, they didn't own their house until I got into the business. They was my support. At the time, my husband, we were dating or we were married. One of them. But he was my support, and you just have support and just a determination. Will you have all the answers? No, I don't think you'll ever have all the answers.
Right.
Do that mean stop and don't do it? No, you go for it. And what I tell my girls is sometimes you have to go if you have to go blind. As long as you trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him and he'll direct your path. So
I'll go with the words today. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So if you let him, if you go and you trust him and you let him direct your path, he'll put the right people, he'll put you in the right place at the right time, and he'll open the door for you.
I love that. So speaking of being an entrepreneur, like not really knowing where to go, kind of walk me through that process of setting up that business. Because a lot of times people tell you, oh, I started my own business, I made a business plan, and then like they never really tell you those steps on how to get there. So like, what did that look like creating that business? What was in that business plan?
Okay, in that business plan, I had to have a vision.
Right.
I had to have my mission. Who that was my audience. Who was going to be my audience, and who was I serving?
Right.
At the time. So once I got that mission statement together, and I saw who I was going to create, I needed to know how I was going to do this. Was I going to do it, in this time? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be a brick and mortar? Meaning, is it going to be a building, a storefront? I needed to know how I was going to function. Once I found out how I was going to function, who was going to help me to be able to meet that mission? What type of employees I needed? I knew I needed a processor. I knew I needed really two processors, one to handle the first end, one to handle the back end, meaning the closing. I needed other loan officers because if I couldn't carry my business myself, I needed some more individuals that would help me make money then come in. I needed a receptionist. My aunt, she came in and she was my receptionist. So because I needed somebody to be able to to be the
front of
first
the house.
appearance, to be at the front of the house.
Right.
So, you have to know who's gonna be in it with you. Once I found out who's gonna be in it with you, what was gonna be the way that I was gonna pay them, how I was gonna pay them.
Very important.
So I did, research on how to, income, the loan officer income, processor income, a receptionist income at a mortgage office. So I, did those, what you call them, salary, research. You can do that on Glassdoor. So those are real easy you can do. You can Google those different salaries, and you get the salaries in your area. So I wanted to be comparable and not underpay them.
Right, and that's super important,
Mhm.
especially in what we now call the Great Resignation, where people are finding out, oh, I'm being underpaid and undervalued and overworked. So I like that you've made sure that your employees were getting what they were worth.
Right.
That is very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah. So, once I did that, then I had to, come up with an idea on how to reach my audience. And, that was, it wasn't a market, I guess you would call it marketing plan now. That would be your
Mhm.
marketing plan. How you gonna market, how you gonna get your name out there. Then that's it, how you gonna replenish your finance. To come back into the business. What do you
Right.
want, so that's it. That's how I created my business plan.
That is amazing. And I'm glad that you kind of gave us that step by step, because you don't usually get that unless you're, deep in somebody's class, or you'd have made it and they're like, you don't have half the stuff you need.
And
And
then-
just real quickly, can you give us a breakdown of what each of those people kind of do? Because I know we know what receptionists do, but like loan officers and processors, like those different positions in a mortgage office,
Mhm.
what do they kind of do? If you could just give us that a quick overview.
I'll tell you that. I'm gonna go back one thing.
Mhm.
As far as starting your business, get your business name. You can look on the Secretary of State and you can search your business name to see if that name is already taken.
Right, that is very important.
Yeah, if it's not taken, go ahead and reserve your name. Even if you're not gonna get in business right now, reserve the business name. Once you get the business name, you can do a DBA, but I wouldn't do a DBA because, institutions, especially when you have to go and apply for money, they don't take you as professional if you have a DBA opposed to a LLC or C Corp or
And
S Corp,
What exactly is a DBA?
doing business as.
Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. So you want to have an LLC
Yeah.
instead? Okay.
Exactly. Anybody that's going to start a business, make sure you go ahead and get your LLC, especially if you start a business. Because if you have a DBA and you do business with me and my product breaks you out, you can sue me and take everything I got with a DBA. If you have an LLC, that can't sue you as easy.
Mm,
It's
So that's very
protection. Yeah, so $25 versus $300. Make the $300 investment
and
and get your LLC.
And thank you for telling us the cost, because that's what I was gonna be like,
Mhm.
how much does it cost to do all of that? Because I know you said in your business plan, you needed $40,000.
I needed a lot.
Right.
Yeah. And you asked me as far as the different positions.
Yes, what do
Uh-huh.
each of those different people that you talked about that were your employees, what do they do in that process?
The loan officer
Mhm.
is the one that originates the loan. That means I meet you, we do a loan application. And I talk to you about loan products, FHA, conventional, VA. I talk to you about interest rates. And then we talk about the steps that we're gonna go and to get you qualified for those loans. Once I get the application and we discuss the type of loan that you're gonna get, it goes to a loan processor.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna say loan processor / loan officer assistant, because in different
Okay.
aspects, they'll call different things. then that application will go to the processor / loan officer assistant. That individual will review the application, make sure every part of the application is completed in its entirety. They will make contact with the person that I originated the loan with and let them know what type of documents that we need them to provide so we can review to see if they qualify for the loan. A loan officer / loan processor, unless they're a licensed loan officer, two, cannot discuss interest rates and loan product.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so you need the processor because you can't do both unless you're licensed in both.
Right.
Gotcha,
Right.
okay, that
So-
makes a lot of
Right.
sense.
So the processor pretty much does the paperwork
Mhm.
portion of it, so the loan officer can have time to continue originating the loan.
Gotcha, okay, so I would talk to the loan officer first to kind of figure out where I'm going and what I want to do.
Mhm.
And then when I'm ready to move on something, it gets taken to the loan processor, who will then help me with all of that information.
Correct.
Okay. And then for those of us like me who have no idea how to kind of start a mortgage or anything like that, walk me through that process of how I even get to that loan officer and things of that nature.
Okay, the first thing for you to do is, you have to find out what loan officer you're gonna use. Now, I don't know if you can go on the internet, you can call me. But you get with your loan officer, let them know you're gonna purchase the home. I always tell individuals that come to me and talk to me about purchasing a home, go ahead and take the first step. If you're planning on purchasing a home next year, go ahead now, see where you are in your credit, see what you qualify for, and see what you're looking at as far as purchasing a home.
Right.
I don't know if you all review your credit reports every year. If you don't start reviewing your credit reports every year, you'd be surprised what's taking place behind the scenes if you're not. I've had instances where people come and purchase a home, they have a running credit. I've had a person that had 20 credit cards. He ain't never had an idea he had a credit card.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't even purchase a home because his debt to income ratio was too high,
Yeah.
but he didn't know that he was a victim of identity theft.
Wow,
So
okay.
if you're not, go to annualcreditreport.com and you get a free copy of your credit report every year, every 365 days. You get a free credit report. I always review credit report to know what's on, because sometimes people slip stuff on there and they don't follow the proper procedure to put it on your credit, and you can go ahead and get it taken off.
Okay, and we will go ahead and make sure to drop that in the chat as well. And when we bring up the recording, we will make sure to have that with all of the other information as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I start there with them and I look through everything, and then that was when I would get to the loan officer and they're gonna tell me my options.
That's it.
Okay. So I feel like I learned something today. I'm like, oh, okay, I know how to navigate this. Okay, because that's not something they really talk about. So I actually have a personal question. What are your tips for graduating college students who are like, I need to move out, I need a house. How do I plan to be a homeowner in the future? Because, you know, one of the things we see it all over the news, they were like, college students can't buy homes and all these things are happening in the housing market. So like, what are your tips for people who are coming into the adult world and ready to make those big purchases? Like, how do I set myself up for that effectively?
Well, I'm gonna say this, and a lot of people don't know this. You can graduate from college
Mhm.
and we can use your transcript as your job history, as long as you have your offer letter to your new job.
Oh, see, now that is amazing because I had no idea you could do that.
Wow. So you can start, if you can afford it, then, I mean, you can, opposed to renting or buying, you can buy your house. if you're worried about a down payment, FHA is you have to put 3.5% down. Conventional, you have to put 3% down. Now, there are things called down payment assistance programs out here that are state mandated. They are based on your income, and when the market shifts daily, so it changes daily. You can get anywhere from 2% assistance to 5% assistance, and that 2 to 5% is based off of your loan amount.
Okay.
So if it's $300,000 house, and they have 5% assistance, that means you can get $15,000 towards your down payment and closing costs. 3% of that covers your down payment, and 2% goes towards your closing costs, which a lot of times I've closed a loan where people don't even have to they get their money back. They actually get money back at closing. Don't ever let down payment be a problem for you not qualifying for a home when that time comes, because there are programs out there that will assist. Also, as a real estate agent, because I am a licensed real estate agent as well, but I function as loan officer primarily. You can, you have good negotiation. You get a good realtor that will negotiate on your behalf, as far as closing costs. Some seasons, like the past season we're coming out of, sellers were not willing to pay any closing costs. That's not all seasons.
Right.
Builders, they pay down, they pay fees for you. So, it's not as scary as some people make it. My thing is, when you desire it, just do it. Just try it.
Right. Any other tips just for us new people who don't know what's going on, up from down?
I'll say, you guard your credit, take care of your credit like it's your baby. That's your baby until you have a baby. Don't abuse your credit. Don't co-sign for anybody. Don't over do your credit. Coming out of school, take time. Don't go and buy the car of your dreams when you first graduate before you buy your house.
Right.
Different things of that sort. So the main thing, because real estate, whether you're purchasing a home to live in or you're using it as investment, you don't want to abuse your credit. Now, being an investor, you don't always have to use your own money. That's a whole nother story for another day.
Right.
But yeah, the most important thing I'll say is don't watch your credit. I've seen, especially millennials, that don't overdo it. Credit cards, that's your money. That's somebody else's money, but you gonna have to pay that note on after you go charge it up. So just be cognizant of your spending habits. Save as much as you can. Be consistent with your jobs and not change a lot, especially before you purchase your home. I understand the negotiations, opportunities, but banks look at inconsistencies. I tell everybody in my workshops that what a loan officer is your guardian angel that creates a frame, and we create you and put you in a frame, and we send you to an underwriter. And the underwriter is the one to make the judgment of whether they want to allow you to get this property. And don't get me wrong, they do have guidelines to abide by. But that's the reason you want a good loan officer, because if an underwriter turns a file down and it's outside of the guidelines, that means he judged you by your credit and not by the guideline. And you want a loan officer that's gonna fight for you and tell them you need to go undo this, because you don't have any guideline to stand on. So that's another thing when you're choosing someone to work with. You want to choose with someone that's knowledgeable and that really can stand their ground when it comes to fighting on your behalf. So you got to be able to trust who you deal with.
I love that. And thank you so much just for those tidbits of information, because I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm gonna need to write that down. And of course, for all of our viewers watching, we will have Ms. Erika's oh, excuse me, her contact information, and we will send that out. So if you guys have any more questions or anything like that beyond today's CLC, you can reach out to her and get the answers that you're looking for. So one last time before we wrap up, because I am seeing that it is 5:55. Does anyone have any questions in our virtual audience?
Yes, we do. We do have a few questions. I just wanted to confirm for Joyce, what was the networking organization that you had mentioned earlier?
Network in Action,
Okay, with Tony Taylor, right?
Tony Taylor.
Okay, just making sure. And I also have another question from Lauren, I believe. She wanted to ask, like, why is it important to use a realtor? She says, a lot of people don't realize that realtors are free to use or how they can help throughout the process of buying a home. So why is it important to use a realtor?
It's important to use a realtor the same way it's important to go to court with your lawyer. A realtor knows the laws. A realtor protects you from predatory lending on that end. And a realtor negotiates and fights on your behalf. You don't pay a realtor, the seller always pays the realtor. So, and then it's free. And the myth that I'm gonna get a better deal if I don't use a realtor, don't go for that. Because what that does is, if I'm selling my house and I have a realtor and you buying my house, my realtor can't be your realtor. Because the obligation of her fiduciary duty is for the seller.
Right.
So she can't promise you anything. She can't tell you anything that the seller has told her.
Oh, okay.
So you have to have somebody to fight and pull information and questions and try to bring things up that may be hidden under the surface. So I wouldn't ever recommend you purchasing any real estate without a realtor.
Hey, thank you so much for that question. That was a really important one.
Thank you. I also had another question from Erika Skinner. She asks, can you speak more about the homebuyer seminar you have planned on October 22nd here at U of HD?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, please talk about it.
If you are, I will be here on the 22nd. I don't know the room. I haven't been given a room yet, but I will be here on campus on the 22nd. So if you want to come and be more intimate with me in conversation, which relates to real estate, don't hesitate. I'll be in the seminar from 10 to 12. And if I do need to stay behind to talk to anyone personally, I'm willing to stay behind and talk to you. But I definitely recommend you come. Just as much information that I've given you today, I'll be there to give on Saturday as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So yes, please make sure you guys come out. She did say October 22nd, and it will be here on campus. And we will go ahead and send out that information as we get it as well. And thank you for that question. Do we have any more?
Those are all the questions that we have for you right now.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I'm looking at the time, and it is just about that time to go ahead and wrap up. So I think my last question for you would be, how was today? How was talking about everything with us? Kind of give us just your experience of today.
I really enjoyed today. I really enjoyed just informing you of what real estate is, things you can expect in the industry of real estate, in your future purchases, and or sales. If you ever have a desire to be in the business or in any business, it just behooves me to know that I could be an impact in anybody's life to go out and pursue your dreams and your visions, because the only person that can stop you is you. So I enjoyed today, and I thank you all for inviting me.
Of course. And just thank you for dropping so many gems of knowledge that we needed today. I'm definitely going to have to just sit there and make our little social media posts full of all the different quotes from today, because you dropped so many. And of course, we are going to go ahead and upload the recording of today's session as soon as it is edited and ready to go. And it will be on the campus group's website under the Accelerated Transfer Academy page in the videos tab. Once again, I am Brittany Smith, the peer mentor here. This is Ms. Erika Jones, and thank you so much for coming today. And we thank you all for participating today in this CLC. And I think our last CLC for National Transfer Student Week this week. So thank you all so much for participating this week. We have one more day tomorrow of activities and information. And thank you all so much again. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Goodbye.
Good night.